Welcome to the InfoMullet YouTube channel. If you enjoy this content, please like or share. And if you'd like to support the InfoMullet by becoming a mulleteer, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate your support. There's been a rapid development and escalation in the Mediterranean Sea. And because in the US, it's the campaign season, it's a presidential election, I haven't seen any discussion of this really in the last week to week and a half that this has really escalated. At the same time, there's been the shooting in Kenosha with the police shooting of the suspect who survived. There were then protests, and there was a shooting of protesters in a fight. Then there was a shooting in Portland. So everyone's been consumed with that. But I'm here to tell you, the international affairs in the Mediterranean have me concerned. And it's not often I get concerned about international affairs. So I'm telling you right now, I think we need to be paying a little more attention to what's going on in the Mediterranean. And this actually dovetails into past discussions we've done. When we talked about the Libyan civil war, let me go ahead and share out a map here to kind of orient us, because we've talked about this before. Just for quick orientation, here's Libya, here's Egypt, right? You have Syria, Lebanon, Turkey up top, Cyprus, Crete, Greece, Italy. All of these players, what we've talked in the past is that Turkey has gradually becoming a regional hegemon in this area. And about 2 months ago in June, and we did a special, we were talking that Turkey was actually intervening in the Libyan civil war. And this is kind of surprising, because if you think, here's Turkey, here's Libya, if they're expanding their regional footprint to the point where they can create military bases in Libya, that's basically creating a play for the Mediterranean being Turkey's pond. And this, I warned at the time, could have really drastic ramifications. And we're seeing those actually play out right now in the last week. And that's what's driven this. So I wanted to quickly orient folks on, this is a simpler map, and it shows what happened when Libya and Turkey arranged for a deal, and this was in many months ago, but then Turkey confirmed with a military intervention in January. They've created a maritime agreement that creates a corridor of territorial waters extending from Libya through Turkey right across the Mediterranean. And Egypt, in reaction to that, threatened to invade Libya, right? So you got a civil war in Libya. Turkey's intervened in Libya, Russia's intervened in Libya, Egypt has threatened to intervene in Libya, but these are not the only things that are going on. You've also got the resource question. There's a ton of resources, natural gas and oil, that are located in the Mediterranean, and they're clustered here off the coast of Israel, Lebanon. There's a whole slew of them around off the shore of Libya and Egypt, but there's also a bunch in the Aegean and other areas. And what's happened in the last week is Turkey has sent under naval escort, they sent a survey vessel into the northern Aegean, into Greece territorial waters. Now, anyone who knows the history of Greece and Turkey, they've been at each other's throats for a long time. There's not a lot lost love between these two countries. And this was a deliberately provocative move. It was a seismic survey vessel, which is doing exploration for natural resource reserves in Greek waters, but they're disputed waters because Turkey has a territorial claim. They're escorting it with a naval ship. And what's happened that's played from this is that beginning probably about a week and a half ago, August 18th, Turkey sends this survey vessel in with the naval escorts, right? All of a sudden, all diplomatic hell breaks loose, right? I've talked about what's already going on. Turkey's intervening in Libya, Russia's intervening in Libya, Egypt's intervening in Libya. Now Turkey intervenes or sends this survey vessel into Greece. France, Italy, Greece, and Cyprus conducted 3-day joint military exercises. And when you conduct joint military exercises, that's both training, but it's also often a signaling function to some competitor in the region that, hey, we're here, we're working together, and we're going to, we're sending you a message that we're ready to confront you. And in Turkey's case, that message from Italy, Cyprus, France, and Greece was to Turkey. And in response, Turkey announced it was going to hold military exercises, hold live fire exercises in the disputed areas of the Mediterranean, September 1 and 2. And the response to this was that Greece signed a maritime deal with Egypt which is almost the mirror opposite. So you think about that map I just showed that has the maritime corridor between Turkey and Libya. Now Greece has signed one with Egypt. So Greece has a maritime corridor that's extending from Greece to Egypt, and it includes naval cooperation. And by extending this agreement and making this claim, Greece is trying to extend its territorial waters in the Ionian Sea 12 miles further. From normally it's 6 miles, they're going to extend it from 12 miles. They've ratified another deal with Italy, and Turkey has said, if you extend your territorial waters into the area Turkey is claiming as its territorial waters, that would be a cause for war. So let's keep track. Egypt has threatened Turkey with war in Libya. Turkey has threatened Greece with war in the Aegean. Greece and Egypt have a deal. Turkey and Libya have a deal. Now, on the 28th, the European Union has stepped in and warned of sanctions against Turkey. On the 1st of September, these military exercises by Turkey began, and they announced they're going to continue for the 12th of September. So they're now ongoing. The seismic vessel, these military exercises, they're currently occurring on the 2nd of September. So we're now talking just a few days ago. Secretary of State Pompeo said that the U.S. would announce the suspension of an arms embargo on non-lethal military goods in Cyprus. Let's check out that map again, right? Cyprus is located here. And what's the key to remember about Cyprus is just like Turkey and Greece have had long-standing conflicts, there's been a seeming separatist activity in Cyprus. The country is effectively divided. There was a coup in the 1970s, I think, where a Turkish separatist group in Cyprus claimed part of the territory of Cyprus and announced their alliance with Turkey. Now, the only country I think that recognizes this government is Turkey. But by making that move, Turkey has claimed its territorial waters extend now into the Cyprus zone. Let me bring up this map now, which shows where these territorial waters. And you can see here, this blue line is Turkey, some of the international boundaries. This red line is the disputed boundary, and you can see how it hews really close to Cyprus. And these are where some of the conflicts are coming in, and where, so keep in mind, we're talking Greece is here, Cyprus, Egypt, Libya, all those countries I've talked about are now getting embroiled. The EU has gotten in with sanctions. Erdogan himself said in response to this that he warned they will make no concessions in the Eastern Mediterranean, and Ankara, that's the capital of Turkey, is determined to do whatever is necessary to obtain its rights in the Black, Aegean, and Mediterranean seas. There's some things going on in the Black Sea, but today we're just talking about Mediterranean. So on, again, 2nd September, the U.S. announces the suspension of arms embargo. This arms embargo has been in place because there's a separatist conflict going on in Cyprus, and they don't want to, the U.S. has traditionally not wanted military goods, lethal and non-lethal, to get in there. Beginning in October, they're going to suspend that arms embargo and allow non-lethal military goods to flow into Cyprus. This is a very provocative move by the U.S., signaling against Turkey that, hey, we can make life difficult for you in that region. And if anyone was wondering, where's Russia in all this? Have no fear. Not only is Russia currently embroiled in Libya, but they have announced live fire exercises in September on either coast of Cyprus. There's 2 live fire exercises the Russian Navy is going to have in Cyprus on either side of the island in the middle of September. What's confusing about this is no one's really sure what Russia's doing. Is Russia supporting Turkey? Because they've had a relationship in the intermediate past of working together in Syria and having what I called the Red Wedding, where Iran, Turkey, and Russia kind of carved up Syria. But much more recently this year, Turkey and Russia have shot at each other in Syria when that fell apart, and then are on opposite sides of the Libyan civil war. So Russia just as easily could be intervening to send a message against Turkey. No one really knows what Russia's doing, but they're sending their Navy in all the way. I mean, all that's left is for Canada to get involved, like the Canadian Navy to show up. Maybe, Japan could get involved, or China. I mean, everyone's condensing into this Mediterranean region with live fire exercises in the month of September. So to say things are heating up is kind of an understatement. Let me go real quick to the questions, because I've covered a lot here. Um, Mike Morrison's asked, if Libya did an end run around Turkey, would Greece help? Wow, Mike, that's a good question. So I think what you're saying is if Libya, because remember, Libya's in a civil war, so Turkey's aligned with the, I'm going to hopefully get this right, Turkey is aligned with the UN recognized government based out of Tripoli, but no one wants Turkey to support them militarily. The opposed side in the civil war is General Haftar, which is backed by Egypt, Russia, and I think the UAE. And currently, Turkey has pushed that faction back into the middle area of Libya around Sirte and other areas. So I think, Mike, what you're asking is if General Haftar took over the rest of Libya, could they sign a deal, basically nullify the previous deal with Turkey and sign a deal with Greece? Absolutely. But at this point, I don't think they're not really in the position to do that. It's kind of a stalemate right now. There was a rapid, I mean, at one point, General Haftar's forces had completely surrounded Tripoli and were on the verge of, perhaps taking it when Turkey intervened. They brought in modern drones, modern equipment, logistics, air power, lots of support, and really pushed back General Haftar's forces. So they're kind of recovering right now, and the front has moved back to kind of closer to the Sirte line. John brings up a question here that Turkey has been angling to enter the EU for a long time, but they've been met with the European cold shoulder. So what John's talking about, I've documented in a lot of Infomult blogs, and I've shared those before, that is talking about Turkey's off-ramp from the EU participation. Probably for most of up through 2014, Turkey was making at least efforts to get involved in the EU, but the EU kept setting barriers and restrictions, and this led to a feedback effect where Turkey was more aggressive against European interest. Where this really probably fell apart was when ISIS rose up in Syria and Iraq, and the refugee crisis began as all the millions of Syrian refugees moved into Turkey. Turkey really controlled the aperture of the flow of the refugees into Europe, and basically said, if you want us to stop the refugees coming into Europe, you're going to have to pay us money. And there was a cash exchange for a couple $2 billion, and it really kind of marked, in my mind, the breakdown of European-Turkish relations, because the European countries didn't want the refugees coming. Turkey's like, you're asking us to hold them, and you've treated us like this. Plus, there was the coup, or alleged coup in 2016, and the repression of Erdogan across the state, and sort of leaning to more authoritarianism. U.S. and Turkey relations have been very dicey. Turkey for a long time reviews the U.S. Participation in its Air Force base in, I don't want to say it because I'll get the name wrong, but there's an Air Force base in Turkey, Inkilit, something like that. There's a U.S. Air Force base, but we weren't allowed to stage fighter planes for there against ISIS. That was eventually resolved. But then there was this whole thing about Turkey pushing into northern Syria. Trump basically said, go ahead, and pulled the U.S. So the whole thing has been really complicated. But I think the overarching picture is Turkey is becoming a regional hegemon. And that means they are increasingly exerting unilateral influence into the regions. And we've seen them do this on the eastern side in Syria. They basically own the northern third of Syria, including a lot of the oil now, because no one's there to stop them. They've made this deal with Libya. They've basically saved the Libyan government. Now, as I warned, they're making a play for the Mediterranean to be their backyard. And it looks like they're willing to push this issue, but there's a coalition now of Greece and Egypt, a separate coalition of Greece, Italy, France, Cyprus, and the EU. A third thing, which is the US and Cyprus. I don't think the US is backing the EU sanctions, and then Russia's coming in. So when I talk about this isn't World War III, but it looks a lot like World War I, it's because all of these different alliances that aren't actually, overarching, there's no like overarching pattern, are beginning to condense and coalesce here in the Mediterranean. And a lot of navies are going to be holding live fire exercises in the month of September. Yeah, Laura brings up U.S. nuclear weapons and missiles in Turkey are suddenly quite concerning. U.S. has had a long-standing presence in Turkey as being across the Black Sea from the former Soviet Union, now Russia. There are listening posts, there are alert posts, there are nuclear installments. All of these things are part of the U.S.-Turkey relationship, and there hasn't been a realignment, I think, of what does it really mean? What is the U.S.-Turkey relationship? Where does it currently stand? And I think when we talk about campaign elections, this is a sleeper issue. It's probably not going to get a lot of airplay. We're going to focus on domestic issues. It's going to come down to Do we want 4 more years of Trump or not? Do we want, where do we want police reform, the economy, COVID? Those are going to be the driving issues of the campaign. But when it comes to international affairs, the China move in the territorial area of the South Chinese Sea is one major international issue that the new president, whoever it is going to have to take on. This Turkish expansion into Mediterranean, it's going to have to determine what is our relationship with Turkey, what is our relationship with other partners, how are we going to deal with this? So this is something that, again, we want to keep an eye on through the month of September. Hopefully, they'll have their exercises, calmer heads will prevail, some negotiation will happen, and we'll be able to kind of put this behind us. But I thought it was really important to put this in context in case something does happen, because it's a little bit complicated. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to follow the InfoMullet, visit us on Facebook or Twitter. And if you'd like notifications when we post new video content, click on the red subscribe button below the video. If you've ever wanted to become a mulleteer and support the InfoMullet, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate the support.